What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, presented by Pure Options Crafted Cannabis. If you are visiting family on this Easter weekend, whatever you're doing on these most holy times, ask yourself, what would Jesus do in my circumstances? He would probably swing by Pure Options to help him get through the weekend and enjoy it as much as he possibly could. Go to pureoptions.com, download the app today. Locations in Lansing, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Detroit. You can join their Pure Perks loyalty program as well. Let Pure Options help you get through your Easter weekend with the most enjoyment absolutely possible. And that's a good thing. I'm not saying you hit your family. I'm just saying Pure Options can make it better. Also, our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You can download the app now. Bet the Tigers. They've been a good bet. Bet the soccer. Bet the NBA playoffs. Lots of good stuff. Sign-up bonuses as well. Very cool at Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook. And if you're looking for a cool experience also, just go down to Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook off I-94 in Battle Creek. Don't need to go to Vegas. You can get the whole in-house sportsbook experience right there at Firekeepers Casino in Battle Creek. And also our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar, the OG of Couch and the Rube sponsors. An unbelievable place to catch a Tigers game this weekend, a date night. You just want to post up, watch the NBA playoffs, whatever it might be. And I'll tell you, they have a great reservation system, and I recommend it, especially on the weekends when they do get busy. It's a great vibe there. But go to caskandcompany.com, and you can go to reservations. You can put in you want a booth, which side you want to be on, the Front 43 or Cask and Company side, and they will take care of you. Again, caskandcompany.com. Jason, how you doing, brother? But it makes it look like I have breasts, so I don't wear it that often.
The urinal or portal.
Hey, man, what's going on? Where's my Tre Fort 3 quick takes, damn it?
Yeah, well.
They have to happen on here?
I'm going to get to them. I'm going to do them. I'm going to get to them eventually once the show's over. I was worried.
I just got done crushing tape on Tre Fort, so I'm ready to go, too. So
Tre Fort will pay a price for this because this is the Couch and the Rube window. This is when we do Couch and the Rube on Fridays. Yeah. The man should have had a little more respect and waited a little while, although I would rather he commit to Michigan State or pledge or whatever we're calling it. With transfers, it's usually a thing that's real. But that he make his decision before the show than like 10 minutes after. That's the worst. When we do a whole show, we talk about the possibilities of somebody, and then,
Trey, why is this guy tweeting at you? Is this gambling related? It can't be. You're not even playing any games. No, this guy has a podcast. Yeah, he won't leave me alone. He DM me twice.
It'll be like Game 4 next year, the second take. I'll take it out on him for the timing. It's all good. I'll get to that in a little bit later at in the LSJ. So we'll get into that. And luckily there were some. We're going to do your Groovy Donut Twitter questions here shortly, and there were some about him, and I sort of rephrased them in the question, so it's as it's happened.
The dude is a finisher. He's an older guy, right? 23, 24, senior.
Yeah.
Finishes at the rim.
Mid-20s. And I am curious to see exactly how they use him. Obviously, he's moving up from Samford, another guy who played at Michigan State last year, just like Caleb Glenn did with Florida Atlantic. This guy did with Samford, which was a tough out. Now, he also, like Caleb Glenn, did not have a good game at Michigan State. If you look at that box score, you will not be overwhelmed. I think ideally for Michigan State, what they're hoping for with him is somebody who slips into a little more of the Trey Holloman role. Now, he's, not a little bit on the ball here and there, can do some point guard stuff. That's not really who he is. But I do not think this is it. Like, I think this is one of the two guards, and I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think their efforts will be to bring in even more of a headliner. I think he's part of the package, though. And I think one of the things you get with guys who are up transferring from mid-majors is guys who understand they may come off the bench, and they're cool with that. They want to be at Michigan State. They want to have a big role there. The Trey Holloman role that Trey Holloman no longer wanted at Michigan State, for a guy like Tre Fort, is really appealing, right? You're playing at Samford, now you're at MSU. You can play a lot of minutes. You can be a scoring guard off the bench, and I think that's what Michigan State needs, 38% from three. We'll see how, as he moves up, how much that sticks. He's been to a lot of different schools. He's but
bull in a china closet.
This is I think for MSU a good get as you help to fortify that backcourt and have shooting and scoring, and so we'll get into that here in a moment in our Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Before we do, what we do at the beginning of every end-of-week show, what we are betting this week, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, are you betting anything this weekend, or are you recovering from the Masters?
Absolutely. As the listener pointed out in our Monday Hot Takes, we went 0 for 15 for the Masters. So what better idea do I have than to bet golf again, the RBC Heritage, the whatever they call it, the Classic Open or whatever. Top 30, Tom Hogue. We didn't give these out because we didn't have a Wednesday show to give out to Harry. But my current bet, maybe something after today's second round. But I got Tom Hogue, Bud Cauley, and Sepp Straka top 30 at the RBC Heritage. And tomorrow, playoff basketball is back, right? Maybe not in Detroit, but we have the Pistons playing tomorrow. The Pistons getting 7. Like, do you do single game parlays at all, or do you just try to focus on the line? Because I like the +7, maybe like Beasley. A prop. I see, like everybody's saying the over 13.5 point prop, but I kind of like when you put in rebounds and assists because I'm such a scared bettor nowadays. I like to get some sort of plus money small to try to get some wins because that builds more momentum than if you just try to fire out a plus 700 bet. But I'm definitely Pistons on Saturday. I'm like I
am as a usual bettor with the same game parlays. Like if somebody says it and it's a really good value, I have to do it because then if it hits. Right. And I didn't do it, I'll be upset.
But I'm saying you throw it in. There's something that you like, but then you want to get the odds. You want to get a little juice
the odds. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then you just add. I'm not saying you add a bunch of different things, Cade this and other, during this.
I'll probably bet the Tigers. I keep doing that, and it's worked out some of the days. The Tigers has not been a bad bet. The market is not quite caught up with the Tigers. It's starting to get there. Of course, soccer this weekend. I have a couple games I like. I like West Ham at home against Southampton. I think West Ham's healthy. Southampton's the worst team almost in Premier League history, and they're -1.5 at home. You can get that a split -1.25 on the Asian line, and if you can get that right around there, I think this is a day that West Ham gets right, wins by a couple goals, and even if they win by just one, you only lose half your bet if it's 1.25. I also like Everton with a double chance, which means win or tie at home against Man City. Last really big game at Goodison Park. And so anyway, those are two games I am definitely on this weekend. I'm sure I'll bet 12 to 15 more, but those are two I would recommend. Those are my bets this weekend, and that is what we're betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. First of all, you doing anything for Easter?
No, don't really celebrate Easter in our family, really. So
okay,
Treese, I know that, but we're 4 hours away from her family, so no.
Okay, cool.
Can't say that we do.
I don't know why I brought that up. We usually don't do that sort of.
T did talk about getting a ham because they're cheap as hell now, and it's like, well, what are we going to do with it? Are we having anybody over? We're going to have 10 pounds of ham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're meeting the in-laws. So we're meeting the in-laws in Lowell on Sunday.
Oh, man, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, it should be good.
What are you guys doing?
Just having lunch. There's a restaurant there we have lunch at. It's it's no Front 43 and Casting Company or Midtown Brewing Company, but for it being halfway. We will do it. We'll
I'm jealous of what your plans on Sunday.
Hey, it's better than the overnight. That was the option. The other option,
hey,
the overnight.
Well, if you're going to compare it, yes,
that's sometimes what you have to realize. Like the option was they stay over with us or we go there, and we compromise with how about we meet halfway at a restaurant. And I said I'm in, I'm all in. Like everything is relative to what could be.
And then next year will be either you come to our house or nothing. Just slowly in stages.
I
funny how that works.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Come on, stay over.
I should say for the record, I like them.
Yeah,
a lot,
of course.
Yeah, I like them a lot. But I also like being home on my weekends. All right, let's. Are you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Yes, unless you have any other questions for me. That just random.
I don't. Let's do it.
What are you doing for Easter? Eric Schultz, timeline time. 2021. Izzo brings in Tyson Walker. Nice job. 2022. Everyone who had ever seen him play knew Sissoko wouldn't start at center on a Big Ten contender. Izzo ignored the portal. Sissoko's terrible. 2023. Sissoko's still here. Izzo inexplicably still refused the portal. Sissoko's terrible again. Graham, can you please stop acting like there was only 1 year where it was obvious they needed a center and they went with Sissoko instead? Like, is your memory that bad? I don't get it. You covered those teams.
Sometimes things bleed together. Okay, wait. 2022 was the 2022-23 was the. Yeah, no, that was. That yeah, no, the year after that, I think they. Yeah, it's a good question. I think they thought those guys. It's all bleeding together here. Didn't they have Bingham on that 2022-23 team? Hold on. Now I'm pissed off. Now I have to figure out who's on these teams. Hold on.
I am the passenger.
3 Ubers.
And I ride and I ride. I ride through the city's backside.
I will. Anyway, the.
You know it looks so good tonight.
All right. Things.
Graham.
All right. So he's. So 2022-23 is the Cooper Kohler freshman year. So you know how you have 2 true freshmen there, right? And he loses. That was the year they lose what's his nuts to Texas A&M. And so, yeah,
Who's what's its nuts?
I'm not even going to try because right now my brain is Julius Marble. Thank you. My brain is fried. Yeah.
I just wanted to see it.
Yeah, I was up late writing an MSU football column. Anyway,
giving us hope with that column. I appreciate that.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I feel better after this column, Graham.
But I did find it interesting. I started to think about it on the MSU football front, how, like, in other years, we're so bad at assessing a spring game that this is almost better. It's almost better to, like, read the tea leaves in people's words than it is the spring game because Lord knows we'd be fighting about which quarterback this and 3 passes and how the offensive line look when they're split up against it. Like, we are so bad at it, we don't deserve it. Like, I think if they do bring the spring game back, they should make it open to fans and ban media. There can be no writing off it. You make it a fan event.
No comp? Comp's going to sneak in there.
He can, but he can't bring his YouTube camera and stick it on the field, Nobody would. It's just got to be all fan experience. They can do word of mouth. They can do what they want, but nobody can write anything. It's like completely off the record. That's what I want.
Oh my God, Comp would go nuts. Man.
Yeah, Comp would struggle. Yeah, we need to give him some pure options to get through. Comp with pure options would be good. And a lot of
hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. Looking at that year, so my memory does suck. There are 2 years that Izzo probably should have gone into the portal and got a center. And granted, the portal has evolved to this point where it's much more prevalent, and it's I think Izzo has been slow on that in terms of he's certainly not been on the front foot as a portal guy, right? And but he's there.
The urinal or portal.
He's there, and we'll get into it here in a little bit. I mean, look, he just got his second transfer of the year, second productive guy, and they aren't done. I'm just gonna tell you that they're going after at least one more. And, and they managed to keep most of the roster together. So next year's team is going to have 3 transfers on it, all of them, I think, playing major minutes as big contributors. And in a day and age where these rosters cost, over $5 million to put together.
I've heard 10.
Some of them do. I'm just saying, I'm just being cautious here. Like they're putting some money and resources into this, and they're trying to find the guys who are fits for what they have back and what they don't. But you are correct, Eric. My memory does suck, and there are probably 2 years that he should have gone and done more with that. Was it 22-23 where Sissoko had that great start though, and it's neither here nor there.
I forgot that.
Should have known.
Apparently, I forgot that great start by Sissoko.
What, he had the game against Gonzaga, where we all thought
where he thought he was Shaq.
We thought he was Wilt Chamberlain or something. Yeah,
that was great time.
Apologies, Eric.
G.E. Miller, if Greg Gard, Matt Painter, Dusty May, and seemingly every other Big Ten coach can go out and get proven starter from day one, transfers from the portal, why does Izzo focus on risky bargain bin lower level guys with low or unknown ceilings? And from Shep, hopefully you've read the CBS Sports story yesterday about college basketball NIL. It named the schools in the top tier of NIL budgets at $10 million a season. Michigan was in this group, and the teams in the second tier at $8 million a season. Purdue was in that group. How in the hell is MSU not at least in the second tier? What the hell is Ishbia doing? This is ass.
Well, by the way, these billionaires ought to be given to other causes. So, we can act like this, but, it's a good thing I'm not running this because I'd say zero.
Yeah, but how much money are we asking these guys while Izzo's here still?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Donate to the Lansing Promise to shut Couch up, and then donate $10 million. You know what, Magic and Ishbia, right?
I'm gonna tackle Magic the day he gives the freaking MSU NIL.
Dan Gilbert, each one of you
it.
take the next 3 years, and you guys give $10 fucking million, and let's get this thing rolling.
Just don't let Ishbia build your roster, because we've seen what's happened in Phoenix there, right? So just the money, Matt.
Being compared to Donald Sterling, by God.
That's ouch. So, okay, to the question here from G. Miller and Shep. Risky bargain bin lower level guys. I think let's get into that statement a little bit, because the risky guys, I mean, look at what happened last year with a lot of the biggest signings that didn't pan out. Omar Ballo at Indiana, Coleman Hawkins at Kansas State, the great Scott Okabar or whatever the hell his name is at Washington.
But don't you think Hawkins would have been better in a different scenario, though?
Sure. But what I mean is, like, finding fit is everything in this, all right? And the other thing I would say is we don't know everything that's going on, and I'm going to tell you right now, from what I know, they are working on this. Like, this is not – just because we don't know something doesn't mean they're not trying to find the right fit. Now, has what Michigan's done been impressive and Purdue's done in the portal been impressive? Absolutely. We'll see how it comes together. Now, did Michigan State have better returning rosters than those teams? Yes. That they had to work more parts around to fit? Yes. But no doubt, I'm not taking away from what those teams have done in the portal and the money they have. And it some of this also is like, I'm going to tell you right now, Michigan State, and Izzo alluded to this the other day, this is not bargain barrel basement crap. I mean, these guys, a lot of the guys on this roster are going to be making what they would make as rookies at the next level if they were like a second-round pick in the NBA. Like, college basketball for a lot of kids is far more lucrative than the pro game at this point, all right? And so, and Michigan State is part of that group. They're all in. Izzo said it the other day, and just from what I know, and I don't have numbers that I feel comfortable sharing here, but I do have numbers that I feel comfortable saying to you, this is not bargain basement barrel shopping, hoping some mid-major kid will take $50,000 and play for you. That's not what they're getting here, right? And so that just because you don't see it out front. Now, would it be better if there was more transparency once people signed and committed? And yeah, there's an argument that it would be nice if we knew the numbers and all that stuff, and maybe that's where this needs to go, and maybe it'll get there. I think they're going to try to protect players' salaries from being known. But if this is going to be money like, NBA money, then maybe we ought to know everything. Maybe this is just that's where we are here. I'm a little torn on that. But
were they talking about actual money or the player himself? Because Tre Fort seems like a nice kid, can finish, but you look at his career. You mentioned Sanford that came in here and didn't look great when he played at Mississippi State. He averaged 5 points a game. I mean, a lot of the transfers other teams are getting are guys that are more known and are names, and I think people are just kind of like they're willing to open up to it, but let's kind of in the other part of their brain they're like, well, man, is this kid gonna be any good? Or
so here's what people have to. I don't think this is their starting guard. I do not think Tre Fort is their starting guard. That's just my take on this. Now, it could be that they miss out on some kids or whatever, and they wind up with him starting. I think he could be a really good player off the bench. I think he is in that Trey Holloman role a little bit, right? And now, a little bit maybe different than Holloman, a little different player, but you know what I mean. Like, I do not think he is their starter. I think he's a good get for what they see as a need right now. The other thing that happens with portal guys, we forget guys develop a little bit. It's like, oh, man, 2 years ago when he was here, he only averaged this. Like, Tyson Walker went from 10 to 18 at Northeastern, then he went to 10 or whatever at Michigan State, and then he was, much better and then much better. You know what I mean? Like, we forget that some of these guys are different players than they were 2 years ago wherever they started. And with some of these guys who were at high majors and it didn't work, and Caleb Glenn fits this as well, or they were unhappy or whatever, they went to another level, succeeded, and now they want back at this level, and they think they're better players and more ready. We'll see what it is. You got to trust the evaluation. I know people are frustrated because they see the rival thing. Fuck the rivals, okay? Well, here's what I would ask you to do. Look at the roster, not who's in the portal. Look at Purdue's whole roster, and it looks good. It does. But let's see. And Painter's a good coach. I'm not saying they're not going to be good, but only focus on Michigan State's roster. Don't worry about what other people have, because we don't know how that's going to play out for anybody. We don't know how it'll play out for Michigan State. What we do know is what Michigan State has coming back, and you start to figure out who they're adding. And, and ultimately you play 5 guys at a time, and you're trying to put together the best team you can. And if Michigan State's going to compete and really contend, they need another piece. this can't be it. I think that's 100% fair. But to act like this is, or to think this is it, just because you don't know what's happening, I'm going to tell you right now, they are working on it, and we'll see what they come up with. But they are working on it, and it's not just it definitely isn't bargain basement. The people they're intrigued at and trying to get, and I don't think these guys are necessarily bargain basement. I think these are good players, and so you either trust them or you don't. And I understand the nerves and all that stuff, and I've got mixed feelings about all this stuff because of the wasted money on NIL and stuff when there are lots of other problems in this world. I struggle to anyway. Let's keep going.
All right, Travis Maynard. I love and agree with Tom Izzo. I have so much faith in his ability. I simply fear not having the horses at every position like we saw versus Auburn. Bazooka to the head, Graham. Can a good team that doesn't land one or two elite transfers realistically win it all in this era of the super team?
Well, not if you don't have one or two elite players. It doesn't matter where you get them. You have to have elite players. You have to have players who are pros. You have to have players who have length. You have to have players who can counter matchup problems that you run into. It doesn't matter how you get them. So it's hard to just grow that organically. MSU has done that better than most. And so in that case, you probably have to go out and get a transfer. Like if you look at this MSU team, there is almost the only way MSU could contend for a national title without adding a really, really good player is if somebody is a lot better than we anticipate. If Kurt Tang next year is a 15-point-a-game guy, if Jackson Kohler is all of a sudden averaging 14 and 7 and is hitting threes, and Jeremy Fears takes a step, there is a path based on the guys they have, but you're asking a lot. Based on what you know at the current time, they've got to go get somebody else, right? And so I think, they've landed a couple transfers that I think are going to be good players for them. I think there's one more, and I think the one more has to be
an absolute dog.
It needs to be probably the biggest headliner and best player coming in. It's not that it's not that Caleb Glenn doesn't have another step in him. Like Caleb Glenn's the guy that I think in terms of growth, he could have more there. It's not that a lot of guys on their roster don't have growth to them, but we just saw what the Final Four looks like, and we saw what Michigan State looked like next to a team that was in that Final Four, and they needed the guy.
True or false? This will be the longest offseason of all time.
Will feel like
true.
Well, no,
it's already feeling, dude.
Here's what Michigan State has that's better than most. First of all this stuff will be finalized, before the summer, and
right.
so that helps.
But then the questions really start happening.
But then Moneyball helps people engage and they get excited. Moneyball is the best thing that ever happened. Moneyball does two things.
And we get excited about Kurt Tang.
Yeah,
he can't live up to those expectations.
Freaking Moneyball MVP last year. Look, Moneyball.
He's going to have 50.
Moneyball does two things for you. One, it allows fans to engage consistently and get to know the players and really fall in love with the team before it starts, right?
Yeah.
And it also allows us not to start having angst about football before it's time to start thinking about football. It's the healthiest thing in July. So, the offseason won't be long because of Moneyball. I mean, Desmond Ferguson and Moneyball is really a saint. He saves the discourse that people can't handle. That, if you didn't have Moneyball and you started thinking about football in July, I don't think we would do this show. I don't think I could handle that. I think Moneyball saves us from a discourse that would be unhealthy.
MZA next. Without revealing MSU's NIL budget, would it be fair to say that MSU would be able to do what schools like Purdue are doing this offseason, and that it is Izzo not wanting to do that? If so, is that really dying trying? Is Tre Fort the last portal addition?
No, he won't be. I think I think they'll get to 11, and I think that's one more guy, and I think it'll be they'll try and get a really really good guard. I think Tre Fort could be a good guard for them, but I don't think they look at Tre Fort as the replacement for Jace Richardson.
So are they at $5 million now, and they're going to spend another $1 million on one more person, one more guy? So it's $6 million. Well, compared to Purdue's,
everything's gone up. So the other thing that they have that other teams don't have is they're going to have to pay their own guys, and they've got guys that would get money on the actual market. So, if you've got, and this is just me spitballing. This is not me with any solid figures.
Gross.
But if you've got Cohen Carr and a guy like Jackson Kohler and Jeremy Fears, I would guess those three together are, I don't know, $2 million themselves, right? And not everybody has that in their house right now. So that just my guess.
Tom Izzo does.
No, I'm talking about.
He's got $2 million.
I'm talking about programs.
Oh.
Yeah. I think
we'll pay him back.
I think Michigan State's NIL is fine. I do wonder if there is a point that Izzo would find too gross for him not to do. Like, I don't think Izzo could ever bring himself, at least in this current market this year. I don't think he's a guy who can do $10 million. If that's an issue you're going to have with him, I don't know what the answer is. Like, I don't know what to
die
tell.
trying then, I guess.
I think he's going to try to put the best roster he can together without just throwing money at things. Like, I would be very surprised if there is a guard that they feel like this is the guy who's the difference between MSU being a contender again and maybe taking that next step if other guys do as well. And not. I would be very surprised if they fall short on that based on finances unless somebody does something really absurd.
MZA Graham, who's your pick to win the Champions League?
Oh, boy. PSG or Barcelona? Give me PSG. I've loved watching them so far. Give me PSG.
Skylar Verdon, how much was Izzo paying his guys last year? I ask because my mom, bless her heart, said Izzo wasn't paying his guys any money last year. Like she believed they were getting $0 because Izzo is just so against it. I told her she was wrong, and they do get paid, but she didn't believe me. I'm going to clip your response and show it to her if that's okay.
Yeah, and I would also refer you to Izzo's response in press conference this week where he said, yeah, we pay guys. I mean, he said it bluntly. And the number I heard, not this past year, but 2 years ago, was that they had at least $3 million, right? So I'm guessing $3 million has been the baseline for a couple of years. I don't know what it was this last year, but I think that at one point was his budget. So they've been paying guys, every player in the six-figure realm for a couple years now. And so this has not been some charitable, do it differently, so against it, can't do it. But luckily these guys don't care about money situation.
Why doesn't she not believe you, though? That's what's the best part about Ma Verdon. She's just like, whatever Skylar said, like, no.
We could do a
I need Graham Couch to tell me on his podcast.
What else does Ma Verdon not believe from Skylar? I'd love these would be good conversations.
She a flat earther?
Yeah.
Huh? Where does it end? I'm intrigued. John Naughty next. Graham, I'm an idiot. Please explain why the university is selling out their arena 15 times per year with all those TV millions, claim their programs don't make much money. They all said this before NIL. Doesn't this seem like tricky accounting nonsense? They don't even pay property taxes on the area or income tax and all that cash flow.
Well, they do make money. They make enough money. The way it used to be, and I haven't done a deep dive on finances a little bit, but if you go back 10 years and you look at like MSU basketball finances, they were basically men's basketball paid for women's basketball. And that's the way it used to be a lot of places. And football paid for football and everything else. That was sort of the standard most places at like the Big Ten level. So they do make money, and it is just life's expensive, and these guys – don't come. The whole program isn't cheap to recruit these guys and pay these coaches and everything. But yeah, they make money. If we're just talking about basketball, and basketball is a more lucrative sport at the mid-major level as well. Yeah.
So are they like a divorced dad? They're just claiming like they're poor in case the judge comes after them. And
well, no, forever athletics has always spent up to what they had. I mean, part of it has been like, hey, we have this, we'll spend it. We don't have any extra, they'd say. It's like, well, wait a sec, that's your choice. There's no question that how athletics has been, done over years. It could have been done differently. You could have put money away. Really, the fact that these teams were so on the brink of collapse, these departments, when COVID hit, is embarrassing because you had a lot of years of making a lot of money and your rainy day funds were non-existent. Like all of these places should have had, athletic departments should have had like $200 million, and I'm talking Big Ten level only because, at the top levels, because most of them aren't putting away money. But if you were doing this for 20 years, how do you not have $200 million put away with the money you're bringing in? And when this moment hits, you're like, okay, well, this sucks. There might not be college football this year, but we can keep our staffs. We can keep salary. We can get through this. I think that was an embarrassing part of the pandemic.
Next, maybe best advice for people regularly traveling for work. Sage and Rube advice, both appreciated.
Well, begin by traveling with Groovy Donuts and bringing it to the whatever coworkers you're meeting wherever. Again, Groovy Donuts. Andrew and Monica like fresh donuts. They make them right overnight. This isn't some quality dairy bullshit where they're brought in frozen from somewhere else, right? This is no. We love you, quality dairy, but it's a different level. But I'm going to tell you,
we love you except for your bullshit.
I have traveled with Groovy Donuts before, and they hold up better than you think. So that would be my advice.
In your pocket. That was really weird.
Yeah,
that's how good they are.
But yeah, you put a box of Groovy Donuts, you pack it with you. That first day, they're still pretty damn good, pretty damn fresh. That would be my advice. Also, by the way, if you want Easter donuts this weekend, go to groovydonuts.com, place your order. If you're having people over, like egg hunks are fun, but you only eat so many eggs. Groovy Donuts, that's what you want. You want donuts in a Easter basket, donuts around for people. If you're having family over, make this a memorable Easter with Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com, buy your donuts today. And also, you can swing by either location, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also Williamson, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., always Thursday through Sunday. Again, but to order at groovydonuts.com. And if you go there now, you can see some of the donuts. They have Easter egg donuts, Easter chick donuts, cottontails. Some of this stuff looks amazing. Peeps, egg hunt, and the salted caramel pecan old fashioned is it's there. It's not really an Easter donut, but it's there and absolutely incredible.
But why would she ask us if we had any advice for someone that does it on the regular travel? Like, I don't know. You travel more than I do, and I'm just saying, how would I tell someone that travels all the time for work? I mean, I figured you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's
a lot more figured out.
I mean, the biggest, I mean, the serious advice things I would say is make sure if you have a corporate card, you have your own card for like Marriott points. Don't use the corporate card for hotels. You get points out of everything you do as much as you can. Don't use corporate stuff that you can't get points out of. I hope my boss isn't listening to this. I just thought about that. But anyway.
She's waiting on your 3 quick takes.
Yeah, that's right.
She's listening.
What the hell?
Write them down.
What the hell's going on there? Yeah, that's, get on the plane last, especially if you don't have a carry-on. Like, there's no point in going with Group 5 just because you're in Group 5. Like, it sucks to sit on a plane. Get on the plane last. It's just a more comfortable way of existing. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
How do you avoid the $7 waters? You carry one of those little small squishable cups that I see people.
My wife does, and yeah, she fills it up at the. Yeah, it's
it's quite the line they have at the airport.
If we're talking flight travel and other things, yeah, I would just get places early, take the stress out of it as much as you can. I don't always follow this advice, Jason will tell you, but I would that would be my best because and enjoy it. Let when you're traveling for work. Always do something fun. Get yourself a nice meal on the road. That's what I always say.
Professor, bazooka to the head.
Bazooka time.
How many playoff games or the series will the Pistons win?
I'd say 2. What do you think? Out of 6.
I don't know. I haven't watched much of the Knicks this year.
Between 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'll believe you.
Yeah.
You've watched way more.
Yep.
I hope they win. Professor, would you travel to watch the Lions play in Germany?
Are they playing in Germany this year?
I hope not.
Jesus. Is that happening? Hold on.
Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think so. Right? Is it this year?
Oh, yeah. They're playing oh, no, they will not be playing in Germany in 25. Ruled out from Germany.
Good.
So, yeah.
No Brazil either. I'd prefer not to. I don't want to go. No. Absolutely not.
I'll say this. We talk about traveling for maybe me here. Like, the best trip I've ever had for the LSJ was right after I started. Michigan State basketball played on in an airplane hangar in an Air Force base in Ramstein, Germany, and spent 72 hours in Kaiserslautern and then Frankfurt and barely slept and just had the best time. I mean, you talk about, did the work, but it was the crew I had. There was me and Joe and Joe Rexroad and Diamond Leung and who else was on? Matt Charbonneau, and we had a blast together.
What a crew.
It was a great, great crew.
A lot of partying, a lot of dragon milk.
That's when Joe almost was killed in the red light district in Frankfurt. Have I told you that story before?
You have to pay the prostitutes.
Well, no, he didn't. That's not the issue. So,
Jesus, I know Rexro loves a good freebie here and there, but Jesus, man.
Frankfurt's okay. I would recommend more where we were out near the Ramstein base, we went to Kaiserslautern, where we stayed in this really cool town, and we went to Mainz and places like that. Really cool. But last night before flying out, we're in Frankfurt, different hotel. And this is the time that Charbonneau, this is before he had cell phones with you, too. 2012, Like, you didn't have like an international plan or anything. If you missed the group, you just missed it. Charbonneau took a nap, missed the whole night. And so me, Diamond, and Joe, we go out in Frankfurt, and we're walking into what we realize is a red light district. And Joe, and apparently he had this problem. He's had this problem before, but he started taking pictures. They do not like you taking pictures in the red light district. So some guy with a pretty large gun starts yelling at Joe outside this place called the Sex Inn. And we had to like scamper away. Oh, it was amazing. We had to scamper away. And we found the one place we could go that was it was a little less seedy. Like, it was like, okay, this is a bar that we can actually hang out in and not end our lives or get ourselves into major trouble here. But
the Sex Inn.
The Sex Inn.
Yeah.
Joe was trying to take
That's where
pictures.
Riley Green went last night. He finally got out of that slump.
Sex Inn, yeah. That is a story we're telling, by the way, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. An awesome place for a date night this weekend, brunch on Sundays. Just an incredible menu. I'm telling you, if you go to Midtown Brewing Company, you're going to love their menu. I love their American Stout, one of the best beers you'll find around. Great place to post up, watch a Tigers game at date night, trivia on Tuesdays. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
I don't see one from Dominic in here, but I was sent one from Dominic, so I'm going to break in and as a VIP that Dominic is. And he said, ask Couch if the one guy they're working on is Jace. And if he lies and says he can't say, may David Harns show up at his door singing biblical hymns.
No, it's not. It's not Jace. It's not Jace.
So you can talk about it.
I can't talk about it, but I'm just going to tell you it's not. I don't want people to think
you can't talk about it. It's not Jace, but you can't talk about it.
Well,
you can.
I can't because I don't have it.
So it's not Jace, but you can't talk about it.
Well, they may be Here's the thing: they may be working on multiple guys.
You can talk about it.
I just know of one guy, but I can't get into it.
So you can't talk about it, but it's definitely not Jace. They're working on. But you can't talk about it. I'm clarifying. Write this down.
Correct. Because I'm
a slow learner,
I don't want people to come away from this thinking it sounds like Couches. Like, I worry that people are going to see this and think, well, boy, it's actually Jace. They're going to get Jace back. I don't want anybody to think that because
you heard it here first.
That was
Graham
I was worried
Couch.
About. Nope. And I don't know that they'll land said person, and I don't know that they'll land anybody. But what I do know is they are when the question of bargain basement shopping came about. That is not what's happening. Is what I'll just say. I think that's fair to say.
I'm still confused. All right, Chris Eastlick, does it feel like Kurt Tang is being forgotten about? I feel like his role is going to be a far bigger than most seem to think next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of the Trey Holloman after freshman year thing going on, where you start to, they bring in other guys, but I don't know that he's being forgotten about because I think, Trey, people thought was being recruited over. They weren't really thinking about him anymore. I think people are still real hopeful for Kurt Tang. I think especially his shooting. There's just not a trust there that he's a guy who's ready to be a primary dude in the Big Ten, right? And I think that's fair. I mean, because as a freshman, he was an 11th man. And if he had been that guy, he would have forced his way onto the court. And he wasn't yet. I think he'll be I would be surprised if he's not a sizable part of their rotation. And a pretty good player. The question is how good, how quickly, and what's his ceiling, and those are things that I just don't know.
Chris Eastlick, is it strange that Holloman hasn't said anything to the fans of MSU on the way out? Perhaps the Twitter mess? Or could it be as simple as just being ready to move on? Don't fault him either way. Just surprised that someone who meant that much to the program leaves in silence.
Yeah, no, at some point, I'm hoping that changes, and I'm hoping it's me that does a column with him, and we'll see if that happens. I think for a while, first of all, you have to have people that players trust. I mean, yeah, you could have a statement, and he hasn't done that, right? That sort of thank you MSU thing that you get from some people, and so if that's what you're talking about.
Taking out a full-page ad in the LSJ. Thank you, everybody.
And that would go a long way. It would be smart. And there would be some people who are still smarmy and pissed off, and that's going to be what it is. I mean, that's
you mean
fine.
Faucet liquor? I saw that was one of the guys going after Trey. I was sent the text sent to, I think either his mom or Trey. No, it was under Trey Holloman after he announced NC State, and it said at Faucet Liquor. And I'm like, oh, people, like, could you see that? You would read that and you'd get really like sad and bummed that Faucet Liquor is coming at. Like, I would laugh so fucking hard and then either mute or block somebody. I don't know.
I mean,
it just seems easier that way. But
here's the thing: this is fan bases everywhere.
Yeah,
and the loyalty is so conditional, and people need to understand that. Like it's like I was looking at the Liverpool, by the way, in English soccer. There was hold on, let me find this real quick. I don't want to. They post
soccer.
Yeah, sorry. They post like 65 times a day.
Oh, really? Is that where you get it from?
Too much. It's too much.
I see the stars come out tonight. I see the bright and hollow sky.
I can't really. Anyway, it was Trent Arnold-Alexander, who's a Liverpool player, is supposedly signing with Real Madrid next year, and he hasn't re-signed. And he's going to be back from injury, and everybody's like, who cares? Sign. Traitor. Like, fuck that guy. Like, the thing, it's just like, here's a guy he grew up in the system. Like, he is as much Liverpool as anybody else, and eventually he just wants to do something else. He is the Trey Holloman of the Premier League, of Liverpool versus MSU, and this is the way they feel. Like it's ass.
People are ass, though.
People are ass.
Your own family's ass. Your own family's not happy for you, probably. If they had a fucking Twitter account, they'd probably come at you, too.
I just wish social media, you had to use your name. I think if that would be – because I would love people to show up at job interviews.
But then I would get offended by it, I guess. You see someone that hey, fuck this guy then.
Yeah.
But when it's Fawcett Liquor – all right.
But I want Fawcett Liquor to show up at his job interview, right? And somebody be like, "Are you this jackass? No way, we're hiring you." Like,
excuse me, are you at Fawcett Liquor?
I want there to be real life implications and consequences for the way people handle this stuff. That's what I would like.
Did you tell Trey Holloman? It says here you told him to go fuck himself. Interesting, Fawcett Liquor. I mean. We expect better here at anyway. Karen, if MSU Twitter could stop embarrassing our university, that'd be great.
Well, yeah.
You mean like the real MSU account?
No,
or like people that put MSU.
Okay. Yeah, they're talking about the fan base. MSU Twitter is like a collective, and Karen is on MSU, Blue Sky MSU, which is less embarrassing. A lot
of cats.
No. I'm on Blue Sky too. I'm just saying less.
Yeah,
it is it's a less fickle. It's a more.
Trey, I'm very disappointed in you.
People don't get as emotional.
Kiss my ass.
Correct. People don't get it. They're not everybody, but people don't get as emotional as quickly about sports. I would say that. That is one of the real pluses of Blue Sky.
Like letting someone have it at the Masters. Excuse me, sir. Sparty Barb next. Will Izzo continue to search for a true point guard in the transfer portal? Getting a backup point guard who is willing to sit behind Fears will be tricky.
It's a good question. I've been trying to watch video and just look at the assist rate and other things of
crushing
Tre
Tate.
Fort.
Looking at assist rate. Look at you.
Look at that. Yeah, that's why we started the show.
Rosillo couch.
45.
Hell yeah.
Rosillo couch. Jesus.
Crushing Tate.
And it's interesting because I don't know that they're okay at that position in terms of depth. I really don't, and that is one thing that Fears is going to be the point guard, and maybe he can play 32 minutes a game, and that really you don't need it. But if he turns an ankle at any point or something happened, like they are not okay at that position, and maybe Tre Fort can do that. But I don't. Yeah, that's a good question.
Twist an ankle. Don't you start this Liz Frank shit.
Sorry.
No feet. Chris, Chris next, what do you project MSU basketball's rotation to be? There's still portal time to get a starting off-ball guard, etc. But I've been talking myself into a Fears, Carr, Glenn, Kohler, Cooper with Tang, Ward, Jesse, and a backup point transfer off the bench. Could talk me into Jesse starting over Cooper, too.
I'm curious to see Jesse McCulloch because I do think he is somebody who is going to impact next season. And, I've seen him play a lot of scout team basketball, and I've seen him look a lot better in the second half of the year than the first half of the year. So those guys who are like growing into something and have some talent, you're curious to see where they wind up.
But I don't want to see that because I want Cooper to come in and ball out.
Well,
I want him to make a leap.
Best case scenario is you got a senior who really understands this is it and
right.
Gets as strong as they can and has the best year they can. And what you want from Carson Cooper is to be that counter to an elite center.
Dunking the ball.
Well, yeah, offensively you need certain things, but defensively you need him to be a counter to people who are you want him to be a very, very good defensive center. Project MSU's rotation to be, well, Fears will start, Carr will start, Kohler will start, right? I think you start there. And then I think there's another guard to be named in the starting lineup probably. I think some of it will be matchup dependent. I think Cam Ward is interesting, but he's still a freshman. Let's see what he is. I mean, this time a few years ago, we were talking about Xavier Booker. Like, well, there's your starting four. And he's a one and done. Like, we didn't know shit. And then that's the problem. Now you watch Cam Ward's high school highlights. He's a little more grown man to him than Xavier Booker in terms of physicality. And I don't think there's any question about that. So
He's a bull in a china closet.
I think, if you're looking at right now, I would think everybody who's on scholarship there looks like a rotation player, likely, maybe not. We'll see what Jordan Scott is, the freshman guard. But yeah, you're looking at maybe a 10-man rotation again. We'll see. It's going to be. I think it'll be fun. I think they'll be a really good team. The question will be, who else do they get? What level are these guys who are transferring up in the Big Ten? Are they Frankie Fiddler level? Are they beyond that? And how much development is there from other guys? There will be a lot of unknowns. You're not going to know going into next season that they're going to be a contender. You're just not. You're going to have to see it from Fears. You're going to have to see it from Kohler. You're going to have to see it from Carr, because all those guys are good players. But for MSU to contend, they're going to have to reach another level. At least a couple of them will.
Ryan speaks next. When MSU players made threes last season, a lot of the time they would do the thing where one hand was hanging down with 3 fingers out, and they moved their other hand up their arm to the sleeve. What does that mean? Is this not some low-key way of them saying, my mule is this big? Trey even has it in one of the transfers when he transferred to NC State in his Twitter post pictures.
I never know. I don't
Two
ask.
middle-aged white guys going to tell you what that shit means.
Yeah, wrong. There's got to be a different podcast that can answer this for you.
Only
Ryan.
thing I know is like Ice in Your Veins from D'Angelo Russell, but that was like 7 years ago or something.
And
So
I even misread that for years. I thought he was saying I'm a heroin addict, and then I realized it was ice in the veins. So I was confused. I was confused.
That's actually a good one. Ryan speaks. Graham for Lansing Mayor 2029. Let's get this campaign started.
It's going to happen. That's probably the year.
God damn, that would be awesome.
By the way, when you said that was actually funny, like that's my level of humor. If somebody said, how are you in terms of funny? Mm-hmm. When somebody tells me something was funny, they say the word actually before it every time, which tells you about.
And then you make it awkward and ruin it, so then it isn't funny.
Correct.
So then I take it back, and then we just start where we were.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Jay Riemenschneider, right now, today, what number would you rank MSU's football program amongst the entire 18 teams in the entire Big Ten?
Oh, boy. All right, give me some off. I'm going to do this real quick, but I'm going to do this right.
What a promise.
I am the passenger,
Really good penis.
and I ride and I ride
The urinal or portal.
through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky.
All right, we're not talking about, you got to be careful season to season and stuff, because obviously Michigan State last year was not that good. What I just put Big Ten. Fuck Google. I'm going to tell you right now. I got it. I got it fixed. But Google has gotten so ass. It's made life much harder. I mean, just come on. Let's
Do better, Google.
do better. But obviously, you look at last year, it was not a great year. But in terms of programs, all right, is Oregon a better program than Michigan State? Yes. Right? That's one. Indiana, I'm not going to put Indiana above Michigan State. I would put them in the same line. They had a great year with a lot of transfers, and they got a good coach and a good situation. But you wouldn't put Indiana football, frankly, above Michigan State. So no. So still one. Penn State, yes. 2. Ohio State, yes. 3. Illinois overall, no. I mean, they were better last year. They've been better lately. So there are 3 better than Michigan State. Iowa used to be, but I would say Iowa's a little bit better. Michigan State beat them last year as a bad team. So we'll say Iowa, no. So again, these aren't teams Michigan State's better than, but we're just saying the ones that are better than Michigan State. Michigan, yes. So that's 4. All right. Minnesota, no. Rutgers, no, despite the final game. USC, been a while for USC. So obviously long enough that I would say no. Washington had a down year, but it had been up. We'll see what they do, but I would say yes. Let's give Washington, let's say 5. Nebraska, not yet. UCLA, not for a while. Wisconsin, been a struggle for lately. Pretty similar. Northwestern, no. Maryland, no. Purdue, no. So there are 5 teams to me, 5 programs that are better than Michigan State. Now, beyond that, you can rank things a lot of different ways, based on last season, based on last 5 years, based on trajectory, whatever. But to me, there are 5 teams right now there are 5 programs that are in a better place than Michigan State for sure, and then everything else is beyond that. And so, again, Michigan State's goal is to be always in the top 6, right? And that's what Alan Haller said. So that's the standard that they ought to be held to. And I think if you are a top 6 out of 18, if you are a top third program, you'll have a lot of years where you're in contention. But what I loved about that conversation is that gave a standard. If they aren't that as a program consistently, then they're not meeting the standard. And I think that's not a bad place to be, consistently expecting top 6. That means your floor is like a 6-3 team that goes, 8-4 overall. Like that's the floor that Michigan State wants to play at in college football, and I think that's reasonable.
Oh boy, Jay Riemenschneider.
Okay. What's your old boy?
No, I don't think I've been more depressed. I mean, just reading your column about the football team, I just think we have to just sit back and just wait to see what happens.
Yes,
100%.
100%.
I know. It seems dire is all I'm saying. Jay Riemenschneider, do Jeremy Fears, Cohen Carr, and Jackson Kohler all have to make the jump for next season to be a true success?
Yeah, a couple of them do. I mean, probably not all of them, and it depends who else they sign and.
We talking Xavier Tillman jump? What do we talk? What jump are we talking?
Yeah, I mean that's the. Are we talking like? Here's what I would say.
Because we talk about the Xavier Tillman jump like it's easy, but it's not. Like that's a whole level of.
Well, and Fears, the better case would be take Fears out of it because he missed most of last year and he had this year. So Fears should take a jump next year in terms of shooting and having a full year healthy and all that stuff. That should happen because that's the fresh for Fears. It's really a freshman to sophomore jump in terms of having a summer off. Like that should happen. But Carr and Kohler, if they take now, I don't know if the jump will look a little different, but if you take Carr and Kohler, what they look like. 2 years ago to what they were this last season, if they make a jump of that proportion similar, now other parts of their game might be off, I would think that would be enough. Because if they take a jump of that size, if Kohler does some things offensively, if Carr continues to grow his game, that would be enough. But you probably need a couple. What you need ultimately is you need difference makers, right? You need enough of those guys. You need enough shooting on the court. And so all of that is part of what their growth needs to be for Michigan State. Because if you have Jeremy Fears of last year, Cohen Carr of last year, and Jackson Kohler of last year on the court a lot together, based on now Kohler's numbers wound up being okay, and I think he will be a fine 3-point shooter. But that your other two guys have got to be shooters, and you don't want to be in that circumstance where you're really limited with matchups. So if Kohler becomes a consistent stretch 4, that helps you tremendously. If Carr can become a guy that makes people pay for leaving him open in the corner, where that now people are coming out to him and now he's going back door on that, like that's a huge thing. He doesn't need to be a volume 3-point shooter. He just needs to be a guy who, 35% on open threes, when he gets it on a catch and shoot, that would be a tremendous asset. So it's same for Fears in a lot of ways. Like that. So I mean, I don't think they all need to take the same jump or but to some degree, those three guys, I think a lot of next season is in their hands.
Jay Riemenschneider, is Michigan going to be the new number 1 power with NIL basketball? It seems even stronger than their football. You can bash the fans all you want about their desire. We see that the school cares.
Well, the school might, like the money might care. The fans
I'm not
don't.
talking about Michigan.
The fans don't. I mean, that's just is what it is now. Again, I've said there's no coming back from that. But it's fine. It's not a big deal. But it is impressive the type of guys they've been landing, which means the money they have to do it. Now we will see what happens when we get to truly revenue sharing, and how much NIL is still at play, and how much Michigan's resources are going to go towards basketball versus football, when football is what stirs the soul over there 100 times out of 100. And with the revenue sharing part itself, Michigan ain't going to cut corners on football to help fund basketball. And so this is this sort of weird hybrid year before that starts. Now, again, you'd have to be very naive to think that NIL isn't going to be a significant part of, when I say NIL, third-party NIL isn't going to be a significant part of basketball, because basketball needs that. Frankly, for basketball, because it brings in so much less money, because the revenue sharing isn't about basketball, it almost needs the third-party stuff more than football in some ways. It's just it's a sport that isn't going to be the priority. So it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, no, I don't know if they'll be the new number 1 power with NIL. It's something to watch. It's something to watch where their priority is. But this has been an impressive offseason, and I think people want to play for Dusty May, and there's a lot of trust there, and I don't think there's any doubt about that right now.
Couch on Fire. Couch, your column on MSU football is interesting. Do you really think there is something brewing there?
Define brewing.
Like when you wake up and you want some coffee.
Oh,
and you brew a little coffee. Yeah.
A nice coffee in the morning. It's the first
Put
cup
one of those
coffee
cups
in,
that automatically does it for you. All you got to just put the mug underneath.
I wrote the column I wrote because I believed in it. It stood out to me over the course of talking to people throughout the last couple weeks of the spring. There is a difference. Now, again, as I wrote in the column, I don't know what that means this fall. But it's very clear to me that there is a different level of confidence. There's a humility to them. There is an understanding of what it's going to take. It's just different, and it's
like
hard.
Meaning Smith came in and thought he was just going to run shit. And now it's just kind of a it sounds like a reality check happened over last year.
Well, the big thing is now every player who's there signed up to play for Smith. Whether you re-up to come back to MSU or not. Last spring was a weird time. It was like, remember a lot of guys, their best players jumped in the portal after the spring, and it was, that it was a real, they convinced them to stay when the hire first happened. And so they were trying to figure out who their roster was going to be, and they were trying to introduce new stuff. And Aiden Childs, I think, was a little naive in terms of what he thought he could be as a first-year guy. And, you listen to Aiden Childs now, and there's a different presence to him. And, again, will that solve his interception issues? No, but John Boyer, that quarterback's coach, one of the more impressive people who talks. Like, he is a no BS guy. And when he talks about Aiden Childs, he talks about breaking down the film from last year. He's blunt about what he didn't do well. And Childs talks about, look, this guy is tedious, but he's the best thing that ever happened to me, because if you do all these details, then you don't have to worry about it on game day because you figured it all out. Like, there is a different type of I think, work and understanding from Childs right now as he grows into it. I think a lot of the players who just got their ass kicked last year, they're not going to sit there and boast about competing for championships. They get it. But they seem to be in a better place. Again, what will their offensive line be? What will their defensive line be? The game is won there a lot. I think they'll be better at receiver. I think Childs will be better. I think they're feeling okay at backup quarterback. I think their secondary, and especially at safety, and their interior linebackers will be pretty good. But there are going to be questions, and they're not going to be able to prove them till the fall. I like their approach. I like their tone. I like their demeanor. It's not, I've covered teams both here and when I lived in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Where the hyperbole was a bit much, and it often didn't work out. Like, there's just zero of that. There's zero over-promising, and you shouldn't. You got to read the room better than that. But the fact that they recognize that, and I think is a good thing. Now, what's brewing, I don't know. I just think they'll be better than last year. I don't know what that looks like, and I think it'll be noticeably better. I would tell people this right now. When that line pops up, we'll see what their over-under is. But after last year, what do you think it's going to be, 5.5 again? Probably?
Oh, I think so.
I would tell people to take the over.
Really?
Now, it's a tough schedule, and you never know where it's going to go. But I would feel better in telling people to take the over this year than some other years.
Couch on fire. So how long until you two apologize for your torque hate? Jason, has Couch ever done so for Carr yet?
I didn't have Cohen Carr hate. I was right. First of all, I was right
Very
about
skeptical.
I was right about Cohen Carr. Let's be honest. Like, his freshman year, he was a detriment in the half court. He was a dunker, and that's what I said. I was right on Cohen Carr.
A lot of hate, though.
And there was no
Came
hate.
from a hateful place.
I was just trying to calm the hyperbole that was coming out of people about him.
Practice that this summer.
Torque
need you.
Torque earned it, though. It took a while to get
Yes.
here.
What do we need to apologize to Torque for? How long do you have to listen? In baseball, even Torque would probably go, yeah, you guys, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it wasn't even close to the Javi Baez hate. We're just like, okay, Torque hit 30 home runs. Where is that guy? Okay, I guess we have to wait another, So I'm not apologizing for it.
No. And
baseball isn't you can't apologize.
Looking on Thursday night, he's been so good with runners up. He's been so good. I hope this sticks. Even this is incredible. It'll be a great story if it does. And what's great about the Torkelson story is the Tigers went from, thinking that you missed on this guy, so you got to go sign guys. Like, he just in time arrived, and it changes the whole dynamics of the future. Now you don't need a first baseman. Like, if this is who he is, now again, he's got to do it for a season.
Yes,
he's got to. He's not going to get a new contract right away. Like, he's got to show this is actually who he is. But if this is who he is, this is the best. I mean, this is like getting a free agent or a trade that you didn't expect, like, out of the blue. It's incredible. Yeah.
Mr. Upside over here.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, it's like pure options in me.
Couch on fire. The fans who want to move on from Izzo need to look at the wings they've been adding, don't they?
Well, in terms of like size and what he, I
Don't coach my team.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a true move on. There's a skepticism in the portal. This is the worst time of year for MSU basketball fans. It's the portal time. It's the one time of year they don't feel like they have a top-tier coach. People feel like, well, I shouldn't say Matt C gets on his own. There's times offensively. I understand why. But, like, the portal, this April is the time that people are like, oh, my God. Yeah, what is this? It's the way most programs.
Guy from Sanford?
It's the way Minnesota
Sanford.
It's the way Minnesota
Sanford and Son? What did we get? Who did we get? The fuck is this? Oh, I'm supposed to be excited? The
one thing that does
the
help
best part of the year. What do you mean?
The guy that helps Tre Fort, the thing that helps Tre Fort is he didn't play well in that Sanford game, but people remember that game and how good that team was. And he did have
but he wasn't good on it.
He was not good on it. Not that.
So we're close. We're getting closer.
Yeah, something like.
Alan Pearlstein. How's this Spartan O-line looking?
I have no idea. I'm not going to lie to you about the O-line. I mean, I wouldn't lie to you about anything. I apologize. We'll fix that in post so it doesn't sound like I lie to people. I don't lie to people.
What about Jace? Are they focused on Jace? No. What
I mean is the line at this point, do I think they've added a couple of new pieces that you go, okay, that could be. But I've been saying that for a decade. Like, that is the group, and I do think they understand that too. I do think they have a decent coach. I think they have some decent players, but it just hasn't come together. And we what a good offensive line looks. This is a coaching staff that at Oregon, those guys were clipping at 5 yards a carry, 4.5 yards a carry in like their worst season. We just haven't seen that. And so I do believe that they'll figure out how to get there eventually, I guess. But at this point, seeing is believing, and they're just, we don't see that much of practice. And we, frankly, against the same team's defensive line or the number twos, I don't know if that's fair to judge. The first time that we are, okay, let me hold on. Give me some Hoff real quick.
Off.
Looks so good tonight.
Come on.
All right, so Western a little bit. They ought to be able to push Western around. And we've seen it when you can't, that's a red flag. They ought to be able to have success. But really, it's Boston College on September 6th, USC on September 20th. Twice in September, we should get an idea. We'll have a decent idea what they're going to be as an offensive line, because that's what's held this program back as much as anything. There have been years where they haven't had the playmakers, years where they haven't had the quarterback, years where they haven't had something else, but that's consistently been there, that absence of an offensive line that could win up front and make the difference week in and week out. And then when they do it once in a while, then it's matchup dependent, and they can't do it the next week. You remember the Iowa game last year? It looks like they're turning a corner, right? And then it just doesn't stick. They need that group to be, to protect and help. They got a young running back room. That's got to turn at some point. The program will not get anywhere near where people want it to be until that changes. And I can't tell you where it is right now.
Spartan 18770. Since you chicken out early on the Can't Read, Can't Write podcast, here's my question to you again. What 3 things must Jonathan Smith accomplish this season?
It's got to look more physically, not dominant's the wrong word, but in control. Like, it's got to look like a program that took a step, and we'll all know it. Like, that's the first thing, right? Up front, that's just gotta happen. And I think the recruiting probably needs to take an uptick. It'll be interesting with the rev sharing and everything, what they're able to get out of the portal. But ultimately, you can be a developmental program, but you got to have your share of Nick Marshes, right? You got to be bringing in a guy like that every year or two, a couple guys like that. So you need that. But this season, I would say, get the offensive line thing fixed, right? And have I don't know, 3 things. I don't know where to go with that. But, like, you just got to have a program that looks the part out there. That even when they lose, even when they're not as good as the opponent, it looks like, wow, they were tough on them for a while. You think back to like the John L. Smith 05 team, where, the game where he finally says, the players are playing their asses off, the coaches are screwing up, that one.
Is that Howard Dean?
It's a combination of Howard Dean.
It really is. It's not bad.
Versus John L. Smith. But, like, one of the things that was frustrating about the John L. Smith era, right, is you had this guy who there were moments where competitively they looked like they were in it with Ohio State. They looked like they were the better team. Like, you want those things to happen where maybe the program's not entirely there yet. Maybe they don't have the depth here or this there. Or they get picked on here. Or they lose a game late. But, boy, it looks like they belong on the field. And that's where they have to get to this year.
Next one from Spartan Graham. Has Bryce Underwood been hanging out with you at Groovy Donuts?
I saw this picture. Yeah,
I'd be fatter than that, though, if I was him. That much money.
It'd be trouble. It'd be trouble.
Oh,
yeah.
my God. Did you see that he bought his former guy that was a security guard at his high school? He bought him a car.
Good for him. Yeah, look.
Like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Getting fat, buying cars, dude. I think great.
I think Bryce
College
Underwood
sports.
with a Groovy Donut sponsorship would be good for all parties involved. I think he should. Although I don't think Groovy Donuts needs to pay him. I think he's doing okay for him. Doing okay for himself. But yeah, maybe he has. Maybe look, Bryce Underwood's trying to ingratiate himself to his teammates. There's no better way to do that than to bring a box of Groovy Donuts. But if he brought like
show up fat
6 dozen boxes of Groovy Donuts to workouts, now it's not the best maybe pre-workout meal, but post-workout you just burned a ton of calories, you're feeling good, you got Groovy Donuts, your teammates like you, you're a freshman quarterback. If you have anything in your life where you feel like you're the freshman quarterback, Groovy Donuts are here for you. Again, groovydonuts.com to place your pre-orders, be it for graduations, be it for you just want to watch the playoffs with friends, you're going over to a house and you're like, I think I'm the annoying one here. I don't think people like me. Groovy Donuts will fix that in a heartbeat. All right, go to groovydonuts.com, place your order, swing by either location, Lake Lansing Road and in East Lansing, and also in Williamson, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday.
David Zandy next. I find it odd that you support Twitter so much, Graham. Seems like the owner of that service and the president he leads our country into the ground with hate reporters, with hate.
What should be would hate reporters like you?
Would hate reporters like you. Why do you stay at a place where you are hated?
Because a lot of the people who don't hate me are there. Like the problem with like X sucks, Twitter sucks. I mean, it's nowhere near as functional as it used to be. It for lots of reasons, and it's a more venomous place, and it's not great.
And then you end up on For You or whatever instead of following, and it's just like a whole other world.
Yeah.
It's like porn and weird videos, and I saw a guy get murdered by a train. It's just like, what am I?
Half my comments are people trying to sell me cryptocurrency. Like it's like, oh my goodness. And that doesn't help that half the a lot of the really nice people have left for Blue Sky. So you're like but look, it's where the community is, and I've decided I had to have this decision, and I don't want to leave a community of good people. It's the old Michael Bolton line, or the line in Office Space about Michael Bolton. Why should I change my name? Because he's the one who sucks, right?
Sure.
Look, Elon hopefully at some point won't own Twitter, and I don't want to be gone if it winds up being better. And maybe it never will, and maybe we won't be on it for a while. But the platform isn't great, but a lot of good people are still there, so that's why I'm still there.
Matt C., why should anyone care about MSU football anymore? Sell me a path. This team competes for Big Ten titles. Never seen less juice in the program.
Well, it's got to be a little bit incremental, right? I mean, it doesn't – I think the problem is MSU football's fallen for long enough and hard enough that the people are frustrated and they want it all at once. But to me, you've got to start looking relevant and competitive, and you've got to start becoming a program that looks intriguing. What's going on there? Like MSU has a couple guys. Like if Aiden Childs takes the next step, he's an exciting player. He's somebody people want to follow. He's the type of that's the type of quarterback you want. You're just a Nick Marsh, exciting player. They could be an exciting team. They've got resources, right? And certainly with the rev share, they'll have at least as much as everybody in that part of it in the Big Ten, at least enough to field a roster that's pretty competitive. And then you have to hope what you did was hire a coaching staff that people want to play for, that stays together, and staff continuity does matter. I think people like working for Jonathan Smith that knows how to do it. And we don't know what their ceiling is yet. We know kind of what the floor is and what he did at Oregon State. But why should anybody care? Because you do care. I mean, you're not going to not care. You're going to care in August. You're going to care in September. You can not care right now, and I think that's healthy if you don't turn out. And based on the number of people reading my column today, not that many of you do care. It's my favorite thing about MSU fans. They don't give a shit about football in April. It's the best. But
here's another column with Couch trying to convince us that shit's going to be all right. That's probably what people said.
You're gonna care in August and September.
You're not Los. I mean, come on, man. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Well, I'm not
it's
saying
an
it's
interesting thing. I clicked it. I read it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad column. I'm just saying people aren't. It's like it just. I mean, I could have gotten away without writing a football column all spring because people aren't naturally into it in the spring.
Max next. I've been thinking about Jonathan Smith's approach to spring versus D'Antonio's. There's absolutely no buzz around the team. D'Antonio did a great job building hype for the upcoming season. Smith seems to want to kill it. Does he not realize where he is now? MSU in the Big Ten or the Big Time. We expect updates and glimpses into what's going on. The occasional media availability is not enough. He said after the Michigan game that he did not appreciate its intensity, and I don't think he understands what his fan base expects.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be with you on the spring because I don't care about the spring, and enough people didn't care. They didn't show up. I would argue that you don't want a spring game if it impacts what you get out of the spring, and I think one thing they've discovered is you get more out of the final week of spring practice without a game. The other thing is not enough fans showed up unless the weather was perfect, and that looks bad when you've got recruits there. You're just better off without it, I think. Again, I hate spring football, so I'm not the right person.
But it could be made fun. Like people do want to get their kids out there and go to some event that doesn't cost a bunch of money if you can tailgate at it and all that stuff. Yes, the weather has to be nice.
They're doing the Meet the Spartans event August 21st. They've announced they're bringing that back. So that is a good thing. That's right before the season. People are into football. It's like, what is that, like the Thursday before the game week, right? It's the end of fall camp. People come out, they'll do a cool thing. You meet the team. There are probably all sorts of games. So they're doing something like that, and I think that is important. I think community engagement is important. Winning is most important, and I get it. I get the frustration. I think more practices should be open because you get a better sense of it. I think that should be everywhere. I mean, the football coaches are just paranoid about this stuff. Although you just probably have Comparoni out there with his camera, right, trying to do a GoPro on some safety's head or something. But yeah, you know,
mind wearing this?
That was an era too of spring game program. They're going away for a while, and Antonio did have that in the mid 2010s. That was the era of can you get 50,000 in the spring game, and that was like a big deal. And Antonio was in on that, and everybody was, and that's going away. It's just times have changed. Coaches don't want these players on film when they have young, good players. That somebody says, "Hey, I want that guy on my team," and offers them money right when the portal's open. If the timing of the portal was different, then maybe you could do it. I just don't think you'll see a spring game again at MSU.
The voice of Gorham softball next. I've done 6 dozen mock draft simulations. Never once has a MSU player been selected. Are we going to have our second draft in 5 years without a Spartan being drafted?
Yeah, very possible. Jonathan Kim, maybe. But yeah, it is.
Have you tried doing 10 dozen mock draft simulations?
Couple more.
Yeah.
Couple more. No, I'll probably get into this next week. I've written this column before, and sometimes I find that I've written the same column 3 times. I'm like, I've been around a while.
Does it feel like you've said the same thing over and over again when you tweet, or no?
Well, it's sort of like that. Like I'll be writing a column and be like, God, this sounds familiar. And I look back and like I wrote it in 2019. Shit. And so I forget that sort of stuff.
Yeah, happens.
Yeah, but it look, Michigan State, it's not a, you can have years where you don't have a ton of NFL draft picks. You have a couple, but you're really good. But by and large, there's a correlation between the number of guys you're putting in the NFL and how good you are. And Michigan State has not been putting guys in the NFL, and they haven't been very good. So that they've got to rectify that.
Jebediah does the Tre Fort recruitment, a kid or adult who will be at his 9th school in 9 years, surprise you? Is this the biggest splash you expect Izzo to make in the portal?
No, and I think Caleb Glenn in some ways is a more important. Well, and that's not true because what they need from Fort is these guys are both important. No, I don't. I think there will be one more. I would be very, I'll be surprised if.
And that isn't Jace coming back.
That is not Jace.
Okay.
Not anything that I've heard. Yeah.
You're telling me the truth.
I wouldn't lie to you.
Okay. Corey Ostrom, aside of contracts with buyouts and collective bargaining, shouldn't there be a salary cap put in place as well in college sports by whatever governing body has the spine to do such things? I would think parity is desirable.
It's going to have to be, yeah. I mean, collective bargaining is the key, though. You can't have a salary cap without collective bargaining because people are just going to sue you to kingdom come here. It's just not. They're going to, and that's the hard part because players, they don't really have an incentive to have things change. I don't know how this ultimately players have to become employees and there have to be contracts. And I do think that the most important thing would be like a freshman salary scale. And you might be able to get players who are so here's the thing you want to do. If you do get a players union or some entity that is collectively bargaining for the players, you have a rookie salary scale in a lot of sports. And I think that would be effective because what you don't want is this recruiting to be what they're, you don't want enticements in recruiting to be what that you want that out of the game. You don't want guys who are never turning anything taking up half your salary cap because you spent all this money on an offensive tackle. It never amounts to shit. And to me, though, you could get players who are already veterans because the players are going to do what they want to do for themselves. But if you're a junior, sophomore, or senior, you've already been a freshman. You want for you. You want what you – I mean, that you don't care about the freshmen coming in. You don't want them to be paid over you. You may be able to get a entity that is player-based to agree to something like that at some point too, I think, which would be really, really helpful if you could start to make the biggest payments for people who are more proven in the game.
Corey Ostrom, should the pro sports team with the NCAA and change the structure to look more like hockey and baseball, meaning kids can be drafted with their rights belonging to the team that drafted them. The team then decides if the kid is ready to contribute or be developed more in college.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I don't love, if you could be drafted after your freshman year and come back. Like, let's take Jace Richardson, for example. If you could.
It's funny you bring up his name. Interesting.
But if you could be a player like him after a freshman year, the NBA is like, I want that guy. And then the NBA could decide, do we want you on your roster next year? Do we want you in the G League? Would we just assume you be your star at your college team? Where do we want you? And that, depending on the program and how they trusted it and what your role would be and the nutrition and all the other stuff and what you wanted to do, that to me doesn't. That to me makes some sense. Now, what that exactly looks like and how it would work in hoops, and I don't know, but like I wouldn't be against something like that. Especially if you could. I just think anything that would help kids, not make huge mistakes, and like you wouldn't have to leave school necessarily to be drafted. Like the hockey players this year from Michigan State, they're not, they'll get drafted, they'll come back. That's the way it is. It takes the chance of kids screwing this up too out of their hands a little bit.
Tyler next. Jason, we need a Tigers update. Roughly 20 games in, and they are 8th in runs scored and 3rd in runs against. Torkelson playing like an all-star in the middle of 16 straight games versus 2024 playoff teams.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nee.
And like we talked about, Graham, Riley Green out of that slump last night, went 3 for 4?
Yeah,
it's fun to see. Pitching staff, I feel like our pitching staff is deep, right? Things are looking good.
Yeah,
I like watching this team all the time. I feel like we're never out of it.
It's a very different feeling than a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah, no,
I'm happy for Torque. It's everything,
And even Riley, like he had one, sort of seeing-eyed single that barely got through. Like that's what you need. You need a few things to like find a hole for you and help you out of a slump.
Interesting. Yeah, he did bust out of that slump.
Yeah.
He found a hole.
What are you trying to say?
Up the gap. Yeah. Listen, why does everything have to be gross with you? Can you be an adult for 5 minutes? I mean, come on. Talking about him snapping out of a slump.
Yeah. No, I feel really good about over 83.5 right now. And I feel good about the odds to win the division. I feel good about I got all those good odds.
You feel good about the MSU football season too, so we have to kind of pull back.
That's
I don't know about that one.
That's fair. If you want to feel as good as I do, by the way, go to pureoptions.com and you can feel great about Michigan State football. You can feel great about the Tigers. You can feel great about the Pistons and Knicks. You can even feel decent about the Red Wings and Steve Yzerman and his plan long term. If you want that vibe, pureoptions.com. Locations in Lansing, Muskegon, Mount Pleasant, Detroit, and let them know Couch in the Roof sent you. They always appreciate that. They've got great deals, including a free pro grow if you spend a certain amount of money there. And look, they get great deals. You can download the app, join the Pure Perks loyalty program, and they will send you all the deals that we get right to your fingertips if you join the Pure Perks loyalty program. It's a pretty cool setup.
David Jackson, I'm going to bet my bank. I don't know if this is right. I'm going to bet my bank.
It's bet. Yes,
bet my bank on the money line next time school pitches. I'll either win nicely or bow out until football season. Good move? Hell yes, David. You'll rebound from that $7. So I promise you.
Whatever your bankroll, here's what I would say is the money line for Scooball is often not a great line because he is a good pitcher.
But if you're betting your bank,
yeah, just keep it. Yeah, keep it within reason. But it'll be fun, And here's what I would recommend too: if you don't want to put too much on it to win more. Find a second parlay. Something you can parlay with every time Scooball pitches. Have a little fun with a little parlay, money line parlay there.
All right, next one from David. I'm going to, or why am I thinking that if Parker Meadows is back by June 1st, a playoff spot is a lock, and we should be a heavy division favorite? Regarding a pennant, I ask, why not us?
I think Parker Meadows, I'm surprised they've been off to the start without him. I thought he would be a huge loss, and it's because Torkelson's been this good. And I think this is great. He comes back, and they're not relying on him to, like, all of a sudden get hot and be the difference again. And I hope he is back. I don't know. I haven't heard an update lately, but man, he is.
I thought it was like middle of May, but now we're talking. Are we June now?
Well, no, it's just all when that nerve comes back. People just don't. They don't know what's what. Yeah,
nerve. David Jackson, I know less about this MSU football team than any Spartan team at this time of year since 1981. In 94, as bad as we were, I could have easily recited 80% of the scholarship players. Today, not a chance. How dangerous is it that fans can no longer identify with the rosters?
It's not ideal, certainly.
Especially David. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, losing that connection is a danger. And it's not just you, though, because I think you'll be back. I think you're going to watch MSU football. You're going to spend on MSU football. Probably regardless, right? Because you're hooked. You've been hooked for a long time. It's embedded in who you are. It's the next group, right? If that connection doesn't exist for the people coming through, that's the danger. I think football is in less peril than college basketball because there's so much money in it, and we're so obsessed as a country with football. That's an issue. I mean, that connection, you lose that. You don't know who this guy is. When you get a freshman, you don't get to think about, boy, that guy's. I mean, part of the fun of recruiting used to be you land a freshman. Sorry, I burped there a little bit. You land a freshman, and you got him for 2, 3, 4 years or whatever it was, and you just felt good about watching somebody grow and getting to know them, and that's gone, and that's not good for the game.
T-Bone's dad. Which owner do you feel most confident in to make the right moves for their team to truly become a contender? Tom Gores or Baby Illich?
Where are you on this?
I think it's Gores. I mean, like we talked about on Monday. I mean, like Windsor with his column, do we owe Gores an apology? And now I'm not going to go that far, but the guy, I mean, the Monty Williams situation could have set back the franchise. I mean, a different owner not owning up to his mistake and talking to the media and being forthright, because a lot of it felt like BS when I'm going to admit when he was doing it. So he did come through and clean up that situation and got the right people, moved his ego to the side to let Trajan Langdon kind of do and Bickerstaff do what they're going to do, and that's why they turned it around. I don't think Illich is necessarily in the way with Scott Harris. I think obviously he pulls back the reins on what to spend. I mean, I feel confident in Illich letting Scott Harris do that as well. But I just think I just trust Gores. If you can pay a guy $100 million just to go away to get everything right, I trust that guy.
Yeah, the biggest thing an owner has to be willing to do, other than not get in the way of good people doing their thing,
be loyal,
is spend money though. And that's where I think at this point you just trust Gores to do that more than you do.
I mean, that's a lot of money, no matter if you're billionaire or whatever. I mean, hell, to pay the guy that, I mean, that was an insane. I think about Monty Williams probably twice a month. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy got paid $100 million just to go away.
I mean, he's one of the worst coaches ever. And to quickly realize that was a mistake and pay it, and to have that, this is what I think Matt Ishbia is struggling with in Phoenix right now. He doesn't like the criticism. He doesn't, he's hired a couple coaches that hasn't worked. Like, Gores looked at himself and said, the only way to fix this is like to just admit the mistake and get out, and
as he gets hammered with a T-shirt cannon during a game, it's like, wow, what is this guy? He's like 60 years old doing that shit. So you didn't think that was possible. But yeah, he's kind of rectified the situation, and we have playoff basketball.
100%.
So, Ken Chu, when it is said that the MSU hockey team will have 15 NHL draft picks next year, is that including current players like Vinsagi, who are expected to be drafted this spring?
Yeah, I think yes. The players, because, yes, I do believe that is correct. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I do believe what they're expecting is guys they're expecting to be drafted who are in their draft year, they're counting on that 15.
Richard Kane, how much should MSU worry about losing Mike Rowe to a program with a deeper gymnastics tradition backing up a Brinks truck?
Not very much. A couple reasons. He lives in my neighborhood, by the way. It's a great place.
Is it his cat that
it's
you take?
Not. It's not his cat.
Okay.
We don't steal a cat, but it's not his cat. Although Spot came over at 11 o'clock last night.
Now, is Spot the actual name of the cat or the name you and your wife came up with?
His government name is Peanut. We call him
Unbelievable.
Spot.
You changed the cat's name?
Yeah. And for the first time ever, he like spills his bowl of food everywhere. Like he stepped
because he's probably an MFer. It's not my name, dude.
And he was so embarrassed that he was like trying to eat it all everywhere on the floor and everything, and then he just left. He was like, I can't be here. I'm humiliated. I loved it because I respected that, because I think if I were in that situation, I would try to clean it up as much as I could, and then I would just leave. I wouldn't want to be nobody see. That is a story almost worth telling, but probably shouldn't have been told. Anyway, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. If you're looking for a date this weekend, or
you are now Spot.
Yeah,
welcome to the family.
Trivia on Tuesdays. Midtown Brewing Company is here for you. To the question on Mike Rowe. Look, he's already. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's not like a really young coach. This is the program he's built. Gymnastics is a little different. There's only so many places that really have money and resources. They're getting a new facility, and the other thing is he's got a good deal. Like the person I would be wanting to make sure they kept. He's got good assistants, and his recruiting coordinator and associate head coach, Nicole Jones, is really essential to that program. I mean, I think once Rowe's done, she'll be next, and so he's got a good deal with her there as well. That's the person that I would worry about, somebody coming in. But I don't, she competed in MSU. I think she probably knows at some point it'll be her program too. I would be, and they've got a great thing going. I'd be surprised if either one of those two left.
Jeff Peterson, is next year a make the playoffs or get fired for Stevie Yzerman?
It's got to be at some point, right? I mean, it just can't.
I mean, you have to kind of do that to get rid of him, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to fire him this offseason. So if you get, I don't know.
It sucks because it's Steve Yzerman, right? And it's the Red Wings. Yeah. But it's just like at some point, Joe Dumars got fired from the Pistons, and it was Joe Dumars. Right. And doesn't mean, you're not. He
had a good shot at it. It's not like he wasn't given an opportunity to do it.
Correct. It doesn't mean he's an idiot. He did it well in Tampa. Joe Dumars did well for a while. It just sometimes things don't work, and you just need.
The problem is you said he did well in Tampa. He's going to go in year 7 or whatever. Big Squirt Burt next. 7-game series. Groovy Donuts, Front 43 Cask and Company. Pure Options versus Sweetwater's Donuts. Wild Bull and your friendly Kalamazoo drug dealer. How does the series go?
Well, that's not even close. It's a 4-0 sweep. Groovy Donuts, Front 43 and Cask and Company, and Pure Options. I like Sweetwater's. We had them at our wedding, but to this day, as good as it was, like it's no Groovy Donuts. I mean, Groovy Donuts is just that next level. Sweetwater's is like, it's like just that the next tier down. If you're thinking about Auburn versus MSU in basketball. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. No, you're talking about some of my favorite places and our most loyal people and just extreme quality from Groovy Donuts, from 43 and Pure Options.
Next one from Big Squirt Burt. What NCAA investigation ends sooner? The Michigan sign stealing that started 2 years ago, or MSU's that started a month ago?
Welcome to the blue wall.
Yeah, I think U of M's does, but it's and again, the MSU thing. If I thought the MSU thing was a huge deal, and again, I don't know all the particulars. I don't. But what I think it probably is not going to be a huge deal. That's just my hunch. And again, don't aggregate or say things like Graham said it's no big deal, because I don't know that. But that's my sense is, based on what I think it is, it's not going to be a big deal.
Bottom line is I could see that game going one way or the other.
Josh next. Now that the Couch and Rube listeners know you have a Twitter burner account, we have questions. First, is your handle Feral Cat? And do you use this account to track strays in your neighborhood so you can feed more random cats and add to your collection? And change their name, apparently. Second, maybe your handle is Stairway to Heaven, and not so subtle reference to your youthful indiscretions when your friend took an accidental tumble down a flight of stairs.
That's not what happened. But both are good guesses. No, I can't tell you the handle. I mean, I did have ham slouch and things like that were funny that everybody knew, but I can't at this point.
They were funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought they were funny.
Oh, I just wondered.
They were actually funny.
You were trying to do humor. There was sarcasm, right?
Correct.
Oh,
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Josh, seriously, love the show, and you two keep me laughing. Thanks, Josh. If you take into account all of the sports at Big Ten schools and revenue generating and non-revenue generating, and put them into a power ranking, I have MSU around 6th or 7th in the league. What are your top 5 all-around programs right now? I've got Ohio State, Michigan, USC, UCLA, Penn State, and MSU/Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have
Good
to.
work.
Appreciate you, Josh, and I'd have to look at all those. I mean, based on Ohio State and Michigan have a lot more sports and do things at a very high level in terms of paying for sports. I did that comparison with Michigan and Michigan State, where Michigan State has gotten a lot closer to Michigan over the last few years than they were 10 years ago in a lot of sports. So I don't think Michigan State's that far behind. UCLA, that is now obviously in football, and they've struggled of late, and they've got financial issues, but there are advantages out there, and they've got some sports they do really well. I'd have to look at it, but that probably is about right.
Pablo Ciccone, the way Graham talks about the neighborhood cat is the same way Dominic would have talked about his horror girlfriend had he known about her at the time. Graham voice. Sorry. Everyone knows we're not the only house she goes to. The owners have to know. It's an outdoor cat. And we changed his name. This fucking spot, dude.
Well, we don't want to
Its government name is Peanut. You guys, was there like a brain strategy meeting of
it just has Spot.
What should we call it?
No, we just called it Spot.
Call
early
you
on.
Spot now.
Before we sort of stole it. We called it Spot. Back then, it was just coming around outdoors.
So it goes home and the family calls it Peanut, but then when it goes to your house,
correct.
So it's like like my dad had a buddy that had like two whole separate lives. Like he had a wife and then he had like a girlfriend or something.
What was that about?
That's just the way, my dad had friends like that. Guy that sold shoes out of a trunk back in the day. The guy that could get us the Comcast, the pay-per-views when he used to have to screw him in the back. He had, it's like my dad. He had all those guys. He got a guy for everything.
So wait a second. But does his girlfriend or wife know about each other?
I think eventually he found out. This was like 2005, 6, 7, around there.
Yeah, you really can't.
Back when I was in the DeWitt area, it's a lot of one of those housewife shows, A lot of crazy shit.
Pre-social media, you could do a lot. That is a story, again, almost worth telling, but actually it is worth telling.
But it's a lot on Dateline, too. You see guys that have those, two completely separate lives.
Totally.
They just, a city apart or something.
I just think it would be exhausting.
That's what I think?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would be too much.
No shit.
I would.
You mean a full-time wife,
yeah.
And then you have to make a girlfriend happy, and then you have to make sure that they're not anywhere near each other or see anything?
Yeah, it'd be awful.
Holy shit.
It doesn't sound like there's any. I mean, I understand the reason guys do it, what benefit they think there is, but I can't. That benefit would so be outweighed by just the stress of everything else.
Well, it'd have to be like the movie Goodfellas. The Guma. The wives knew about it, they weren't excited about it, and every once in a while they clash.
I will say this: if you've got a wife and a girlfriend, maybe you take your wife this Friday night to Front 43 in Cask and Company, and then Saturday you go to Midtown Brewing Company, and you do it.
You have
keep
one
them
at
separate.
each.
Yeah, you keep them. You can go back and forth. It'd be amazing. And
I got to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. It's not sitting well, that licorice I had. Anyway. All right, Treese, next. How do you feel about the new Ken Ambassador LeBron doll? How much would you pay for it? P.S. Mattel should construct stadium statues. The LeBron doll is...
I think it's fire. Sorry.
Yeah, of course it's fire. Yeah. She went on a jag about this last night. Because I was like, babe, you should probably put in a Twitter question or something. She's like, what about this LeBron Ken Ambassador? I'm like, I don't want to talk. Because I have to explain what you're thinking, which is fine. But, it's like this LeBron doll looks great. Like LeBron, like the Ken company, they just make dolls though. They can't make, although they should start making the statues, right?
Yes,
the face, at least the face.
The face. I think for every statue that's made, you should commission like 6 different people to do it, and then you take the one that's the best. That way, you don't wind up with Magic Johnson at MSU
or Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how bad statue. I mean, I feel like I could do statues better than the people doing statues.
I would rather have you give it a shot, and then we could replace the Magic statue.
So what is this Ken Ambassador thing?
I don't know. It's some LeBron doll that's coming out. She asked me if it was worth any money.
Okay.
And then she sent this in. And that's pretty much it. And
well, if it's not, we have a Beanie Baby bin in our basement we could keep it with. It's not worth any money. So
well, I mean, I think they cost like over $100.
Oh, do they?
I'm just saying whatever value that they would have. They'd have to be numbered to a short number, I guess. JB, alternate universe masters. Rube, you're waiting for Rory at the 18th tee box. He just missed that putt to send it to a playoff with a rose. The sports world is in a frenzy. You say something to Rory, and that CBS Mike picks it up. He shanks his tee shot. Did you bring up chocolate milk? No, I said, do it for Poppy. Oh, come on, do it for Poppy. Who doesn't love Poppy? Poppy's his daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you yell something if you were?
Dude, I am done yelling anything. I am so I don't want to be around celebrity. Like, no. The John Daly story, I can't do it. Especially at the Masters, there's no way.
Yeah.
I'd end up like, get in the hole. Like, I'd probably just,
yell that.
Yeah. I'd probably just get so nervous that something would just come out.
The get in the hole guy would be like, hey, that's my line, man.
Because the John Daly story, I did see him prior to asking him how many chocolate milks John Daly had. I had seen him when I went to the bathroom, and he came with his caddy, or like whipping around the corner in a golf cart, and I just went, JD! Like, it just came out. Like, there was no thought. It just came, like, it sounded just like that.
Do you think you never hear more than one get in the hole guy. Do you think there's how do they decide is that one person?
It's just
there?
the ultimate douche. You probably can pick them out if you scan the crowd. I know it'd probably be tough, but you could, and probably everybody turns around and sees that guy.
How are there never two of them? You'd think the odds would be there would be more
I
than
think
one.
that there's a couple.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Yeah, I would think so. Gorjo, Jason, what's your favorite and least favorite mid-Michigan area golf course? I got to say, at least favorite. It's really tough to be critical. Especially when you're dumb and you're white trash, like everything is really great to you. So like when I go golfing, I really try to, I don't know. I try not to be critical because it's so expensive for some of these golf courses to stay open and because, I've golfed Meridian Sun. By the way, Andrew and I from Groovy Donuts won the simulator championships for the winter season. But I've played there like ever since I was like 19, 20 years old. And I just know Bill Morey, who owns that course, how much money he puts into it. So to shit on any course around the area, I like them all. But I do love, one of my favorites is Hawk Hollow. I love for the price. And I know that they have Eagle Eye as well, which is the nicer course for, if I was a better golfer, I definitely would golf there more. But it's a higher tiered price, but Hawk Hollow, for the price you get and the sights you see out there and the way they keep up that golf course, Hawk Hollow is where it's at. Mike Scott, Graham, how much money did you get from suing the Easter Bunny for cock blocking your friend at that cowboy bar in Kalamazoo 20-ish years ago, Graham? And is it true you took the settlement money of $41,000 and carried it in a duffel bag for several months?
That's right. The Rube and I are kindred spirits when it comes to this stuff.
It wasn't a duffel bag. It was a bank bag that I had mine in.
Okay.
One of those fancy zippers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not actually sue. I was not hurt. I just threatened to sue.
Just Russ Eisenstein's ego hurt.
Yeah. It was I didn't
couch. Your ego had to hurt a little bit. You kind of got pushed around by a guy.
I didn't like the finger. Yeah, well, I didn't mind that. I didn't like the bouncer was the guy. I mean, I didn't like the bouncer and the finger in the back. That pissed me off.
But you have a decision though when that happens.
Yes,
you can make you can turn around and swipe that finger, and you're going to get tossed on your ass.
Yep. Or you can fall hard
firsthand.
Or you can just leave, which is what I did because I also
smart.
When you one of the things when you're working at like a newspaper that was a couple blocks away and you're like sort of a representative of the community when you're out, it's not a good look to be the guy who's in the newspaper for suing one of the bars downtown. It's just you want to avoid that.
He put his finger on me. I had to. Steve Whitaco, aside from fraternizing with pedophiles, men in jerseys, have you ever been asked to do something that calls your professional ethics into question? Not by a fan, but by someone in a position of power. Podcast trivia team on Thursdays, Rube's Dubes, Graham's Crackers.
Oh, this might be a separate
I was
question.
about to say,
Sorry, Steve. Rube's Dubes, Graham's Crackers.
Hey, you guys want to play trivia? By the way, anything with your professional ethics? Something about pedophiles. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've been asked by like sources to. I mean, people usually it's just people don't understand the business. Like, I can't do that, or can you send me this and then I can edit it? That's not really how we do things.
Harns?
It's not been not been. So I've had a few of those situations. I'm trying to think if I've had something really unethical asked of me. I don't think I have. I don't think I've had somebody say, "Hey, what do you think about doing this for me?" And I mean, I've had people wanting them to do favors for them that don't understand the role of journalism. Like, your job is not just to promote people. And
quid pro quo.
Yeah, I mean, I may sometimes feel like I'm just promoting the Michigan State football team to a lot of our audience, but that is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So if I'm doing that, I'm failing you, and I apologize.
Jake, next couch. I filled out a form online to inquire about season tickets and game packages for MSU football about a week ago, and gotten no response. What gives? Don't they want my hard-earned money to watch an average college football product?
Well, so I don't know anything about these forms. So it's like you're inquiring about the possibility, or do you want them? Did you call to try to buy them? Jake, I would want more information here because I don't know what's going on. And
is there a waiting list?
Yeah, I don't. I'm curious about exactly what you're looking to do, and because it would seem like you'd want to hear back from them quickly, and they'd want to get back to you right away. And so this seems odd, but please DM me.
Did you have that attitude too, Jake, while you're at it? Like, here's my hard-earned money for your average football product. You guys gonna get back to me?
50-yard line seats are nothing, assholes. Yeah.
I love Jake. Scotty Green's El Camino. Seriously, where the fuck is Mel Tucker?
Good question.
We don't have enough time for all of that.
Yeah, we don't, unfortunately, have time for that. Mojo Jojo. Will J.D. Vance dropping the college football playoff trophy result in a 100-year curse for Ohio State out of the Cubs?
Wouldn't that be something? If, 20 years from now, people start to put it together. They haven't won a thing.
You remember that guy that fucked a couch and he dropped our trophy?
He was also the vice president.
Oh, right, yeah. A weird haircut. Mojo Jojo, what's the best sandwich and why is it poached chicken, melted brie, pickled onion, and hot pepper jelly on sourdough? Can that be made into a groovy donut?
Well, anything can probably be made into a groovy donut. It might eventually not be a donut, but
yeah, where do you get something like that?
Yeah, it does sound amazing though. Tell me more about this.
Pickled onion.
Yeah, talk to Front 43 and Casket Company about adding it to the menu. By the way, Front 43 and Casket Company has a new drink menu, which is worth checking out. Go to caskandcompany.com or just swing on by, post up, watch the Tigers. Whatever it is you want to do. Date night, some great stuff there. caskandcompany.com.
Some dude, Jason, can you please stop the show and check Couch's phone to see if there are any pics of Greg Gard's thighs? And then can you give your thoughts on the Jack White show? Phenomenal, but a little short.
Yeah, you leave me alone, my Greg Gard nude photos.
I don't need, they're on there. Yeah. The Jack White show was absolutely awesome. I love downtown Grand Rapids. It was a very, very small venue, 2,600. Jack White was unbelievable. Absolutely great night. Great birthday evening. It was fun.
It's Teresa's birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, she turned 40.
40? I thought it was 36. Oh, don't laugh. Don't. It's careful.
No, that's me. I got a stuffed up nose.
Oh, I was going to fix that in post. Yeah.
Original Dark Mantonio. What movie or TV show do you wish you could forget so that you have the pleasure of seeing it again for the first time? Well, see, this is the great part of, one of the only great parts of drinking heavily through your 20s and pretty much 30s. Is that pretty? A lot of these shows for me is like watching it again for the first time.
Yeah.
Like the Michigan State teams from the early 2010s. Like I don't recall much of 2009 to 2015 probably. And that goes for TV shows and stuff like that again. If I watch The Sopranos, I would get some gist. I do remember a lot of those. But
I would say, obviously there's things like The Wire, which would be incredible. New Girl was like a sitcom that on Fox for 7 seasons that I just loved. And I'm doing it with Chicago Fire right now. I actually accidentally started in season 4 because it just happened to be on one day and I got into it. And now it's like what I watch on the treadmill, and it's great because I'm getting to catch up. But I would say The West Wing is one that every time I go back I enjoy.
But how far back do you go? Because if you go back, because when I see flip phones and shit, I just get out of it.
Yeah,
it takes me out.
Pre-2000s is
right?
Something, The Wire and West Wing are early 2000s, so that's, excuse me. I know what happened. But that would be about it.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Play some off. Original Dark Mantonio start bench cut in their prime. 1, Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem. 2, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. In college, Trey Burke, Cassius, Braden Smith.
Well, okay, so you're starting one, benching the other, cutting. So, I would say
I'd rather do a fuck, marry, kill. It's easier almost.
So Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem, basically in order. I would say, boy, those are tough because
cutting any of these guys.
Yeah, no,
can't do it.
You're going Kareem, Hakeem, Shaq. I think probably.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And then Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and then Trey Burke was pretty special at times.
Kobe, dude, are you crazy? This is a July topic.
This is
we
brutal.
Could do about 30 minutes of this.
Yeah, come back with this in July. I don't. Trey, these are really good.
Well, they suck because they're just you can't do anything. Jared, what's the craziest soccer game finish you've ever watched? Just finished the Man U versus Lion game.
Leon. Yep.
Diamond Leon game, and that was a classic.
It was amazing. I shut it off too. I'm annoyed. All of a sudden I said, "How the hell is it?" Yeah. But anyway.
Don't you almost want to lie though and say you did finish it? If people go, "Oh, it's one of the greatest,"
it was unbelievable because it did not look like it was going to be that. Winds up in extra time. One team's down a man. It was incredible. That's a good question. There's been some Chelsea, Liverpool's I think of, but just wild. I played high school soccer and played in some wild games where we lost 8-1. That's a really good question. I don't know one that I mean, I'm sure one comes to mind that was just intense and crazy, and but it's not there at the top of my head.
Luke Bungie next. Given Lansing has 2 semi-pro soccer teams, does promotion and relegation in the USL lead to Lansing trying to form one team and make the jump to professional soccer?
I doubt it, because they have 2 separate sort of missions. The Lansing Common is very much community-based. They're about the community as much as they are the soccer. And, they're owned by the community. Like, you can buy a membership and you're a part owner, right? That's the idea was they would never lose their team again in Lansing by that. And then, the new Lansing USL team, that would be that's more about they do get usually a little bit higher level player they have recently, but it's not is community focused. And I think they played out in Okemos last year. Not sure they're going to play this year. I don't think those 2 entities would ever combine, is what I'm saying. Lansing City and which played in Okemos, which seems like a faux pas right there anyway. But yeah, I don't think they would ever combine. And I don't know whether this town could do, I wish they could do the Lansing Ignite over again. I wish they could have a 1-year run-up. I wish I wish it could be one more try on that. The pandemic would have killed it if it didn't die after 2019 anyway. But I just don't know that Lansing's going to get another shot at pro soccer. Sorry, you awake?
Shit, yes.
Yeah,
hey,
sorry.
Hey, Hans Jurgen. Question for Woke Couch. Is it problematic for white comedians to do impressions of black celebrities?
It can be. You've got to be really good. Because
like who?
I don't.
What do you mean you have to be good at the impression?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, you just got to be a really talented comedian so it doesn't come across offensive. I believe it could be done, but you'd have to be more gifted than
it's
many.
kind of like a Dave Chappelle. You can do a Dave Chappelle kind of.
Yeah.
Hans Jurgen, is my lack of professional success due to my inactivity on LinkedIn?
Yes, entirely.
Oh, dude, you got to get on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing.
It's better than Facebook. Hans, I haven't sports bet in days, having lost interest in this activity since the tournament ended. Is there something wrong with me?
No, that's healthy.
But not for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because if you immediately need to bet on something else, that's where it's a compulsive issue. Not saying people should enjoy also betting the Masters and do other things.
1-800-GAMBLER if you need it.
Yeah, you can do that.
Don't do your. It's not fun when you do it.
I'm sorry.
Hans, what is the most you have won on a scratch off?
I don't know.
A 50 spot, I think.
Yeah, my wife's won. I don't think I ever have. I haven't done a lot of scratch offs.
Yeah, try not to. Hans, is the fear shooter in the portal?
Well, there are a lot of guys in the portal. Most likely, yeah, I would say, yeah, most likely.
Jake Hawkins, great column on reviewing Robin Freilic's second season as MSU women's basketball coach. Do you think she can lead the women to a Final Four, maybe a national championship?
It's all about the talent she gets in. I mean, I think she's a really good coach. I think she's got a good system. I think people like playing for her. I think, but the question, your ceiling is based on the level of talent you can get in and recruit. And so we'll see. But yeah, I think she's really bright. I think she knows her stuff, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
Jake Hawkins, thoughts on the 2 transfer players that MSU women's basketball picked up from Purdue and Arizona State? Any chance that they'll add 2 more?
I think they probably will. They can add up to 2 more. I think they'll. I was looking at their shooting splits. Neither one's a great shooter, but they're guards who can. They need good guard play. I do think they maybe need 1 more interior player, although Van Sluten and Sotelo is a pretty good pair. So yeah, I would think they're adding at least 1 more.
Jake Hawkins, do you think Jonathan Smith made the right call not to have a spring football game? And also, do you think there was any way MSU could have had a spring football game on the same Saturday as Michigan, which is after the portal closes?
Is it after the portal closes? Maybe I don't know if it's that late. Yeah, I mean, you could do it on the same Saturday. There's different fan bases. I don't think, you don't have to. I don't think that matters at all. I don't see why it would. How many people are going to both Michigan and Michigan State spring football games? I mean,
Comp.
Is Comp really going to Michigan spring? I don't think so. They wouldn't let him in. He's on a poster there. They don't. Yeah. Do I think he made the right call? I don't think it matters. Is what I mean. But I'm apathetic on this stuff. I really don't. Never enjoyed spring football. Even when I was an MSU fan as a kid, it just wasn't part of what you did back then that much.
Does nobody play catch with you? Is that why you hate it?
I'm just seasonal. I don't think a lot of people are. It's just not football season.
Jake, last one from the Hawk. Which Easter candy would you prefer? You can only pick one. Cadbury eggs or Reese's peanut butter eggs?
Well, Reese's peanut butter groovy donut is where I'd go with this.
I'm allergic to peanut butter, so I'd have to pick Cadbury eggs.
Yeah.
I don't know what that matters. But.
Yeah, but by the way, again, Groovy Donuts for Easter.
Right. Oh, it was a live read. I got you. Sorry.
GroovyDonuts.com. Place your order today in 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road and East Lansing, and also Williamson, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., Thursday through Sunday.
Actually, Jake, Upper Deck Jerk Guy, since Graham now apparently only posts his request for questions on that site owned by a racist billionaire, I will still ask them here. First, what is your problem?
So I posted the call for Twitter questions on X like an hour and a half before I was able to do it on Blue Sky. And so in the meantime, Upper Deck Jerk Guy was not happy. So that's where this.
Well, you couldn't just swap over apps and just copy.
Usually I do. Well, there is some things that change because some of the sponsors don't have Blue Sky accounts, so I have to erase and I do a little different. I do it a little differently. And I was on the move and something came up, and so it took me a minute. So
I was on the move.
It's on the move, man.
What a great excuse. I was on the move. Like no one's going to question that. Jerk Guy. How much money would it take to actually sell your soul and spend an eternity in hell?
What would it take? How much money would you need?
Okay, what is hell? Like, well, how bad is hell?
That's a good question.
I need an explanation of hell. Like, is it just like I'm on a treadmill next to Graham Couch and he's telling me about soccer for the rest of my life?
Yeah, let's say it's above 90 degrees all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly on a treadmill.
Okay.
And your sports teams are like last year's Pistons all the time.
All the time.
That's hell. So
$50 million.
And you're going to have to do that for eternity. Yeah.
$50 million. How long do I live?
There's the other question: is what is hell? Like, what is hell? Hell. That's a great question. What is hell? I think we have to establish that because I often say the price to buy me is $1.8 million. At that point, I can lose my ethics. So, but hell. Eternity sounds like a long freaking time. I'd rather not because life's not that bad. So, we need to establish some parameters for hell.
Because knowing it's not, you can't really celebrate the money knowing you're going to spend an eternity on a treadmill. Watching last year's Pistons team.
No, I would
occasionally with Couch sprinkling in some story about how he stole a cat.
Yeah, I would throw up. I would puke. But I would be so nervous about it. Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
All right. Yeah. Then I have ethics then, apparently. And last one from the Jerk Guy. Do you recognize patterns well?
I don't know.
Damn, dude. Things that make you go,
Yeah. And end the show on that.
That's
Thanks,
deep,
Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. We appreciate all of you guys, especially Upper Deck Jerk Guy. No, all of you guys for producing our show, bearing with us, and supporting our sponsors. Including Pure Options. Again, pureoptions.com. Download the app today. Join their Pure Perks loyalty program. Location information, specials, all that good stuff right there. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Make them part of your Easter, any weekend, whatever gathering you're doing, office deal, like groovydonuts.com. Swing by either one of their locations as well. We appreciate Front 43 and Cask and Company, the OGs of Couch and the Roof sponsors. Midtown Brewing Company, of course. And also Firekeepers. And the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app. Have some fun with the games. Do it responsibly. We'll be back Monday. Yep. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.